Hey Ty, congratulations on the new mystery machine, man. We're about to load it up and send it off to Seattle. Before we do it, we're going to do a walk around for you, let you know exactly what we've done and what to expect. So I'm going to have Rob hand me the camera here and have him take the guided tour. So here we go.
Okay, the machine essentially uses tires off of trailers. They're inexpensive, can be found anywhere. The engine is 12 volt and it's a lawnmower engine.
Hey Rob, real quick, before we go past the wheel. On the wheel, tell us a little bit about the braking master cylinders, replacement parts, things like that.
Okay, the standard drum setup. This is the same as the West Coasters use. This is a Ram Mailster, and it's awful close to the West Coaster. 7 manufacturers built it. There is an information packet inside on the brake shoes and the wheel cylinders that'll tell you where to get replacement parts. Essentially, they're off of the early 60s Triumph Spitfire. British-made car, however, they bought most of their parts from us to manufacture all the subsystems. Lighting's 12 volt. There are 2 toggle switches. You'll have to come around the other side. I'll point to one. This is your headlight switch. Up is off, down is on, and I don't even have a clue what this does.
And then on the floor, you've got the...
I don't know if that's functional.
That would have been for your high beam?
That would be for your high beam, but I don't know if it's functional at this time.
Okay.
Okay, the engine is essentially a lawnmower, and we think of 12 volt machines as having a lot of electrical power. The gentleman who owned this had a radio in it. This machine cannot be run with a radio unless it's a separate circuit or a separate battery that it's running off of. Your cars, my Miata, your Honda, are charging at about 60 amps. This charges at less than 1.
Okay.
The radio pretty much requires at least 3 amps. So even though it has a radio in it, the fellow that installed it was mistaken. This engine cannot do that unless you install an alternator.
An alternator, okay.
Okay, the fuel system's a bit old, like we were discussing earlier. It should have the tank removed, fill it full of 1/4-inch nuts or drywall screws, shaken on a paint shaker, and then sealed using the 2-part epoxy as described.
Okay.
Upon last glance, last time we drove it, the brake lamps and regular lamps worked. The turn signals had not been wired yet.
Now those replacement lights can be
gotten at any hardware type store for trailer parts. Semi-trailers use.
That's where I went. I went to a semi-trailer supply store and I got lights for those, and they were pretty easy. They're about, I don't know, $5-10 per piece. So.
Yep. These, if you look at the other YouTube videos, are functional, but I don't believe the turn signals work.
Okay.
Currently, the people that owned this have lawnmower tires on the back. It really should at some point be replaced with a higher speed trailer tire like on the front. Okay. Even though these things only do 35, there's a certain amount of horsepower being lost in these.
The tires are a 5-bolt pattern. They're lawnmower tires that probably should be swapped out for trailer tires. Now, the other thing is I think you can get actually, at least on the Cushmans, you can get these adapter kits that will convert them to run on regular like Easy Go tires and things like that. And they increase some stability by.
This bolt pattern is the same as the Easy Go.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing needs to be changed. Easy Go wheels will bolt right on it, as well as the fancy mag wheels that they have and the caps.
Okay.
So Easy Go is a straight bolt on, and then stores such as Tractor Supply and Bomb Guards, you can buy them off the shelf and they'll go right on it.
So we talked about brakes, master cylinder, which is...
Master cylinder is viewable right through that hole. Let me put some illumination on it for you. And that's the fill point. Just take that cap off, and that's your fill point right there.
I don't know if you're catching that, but the master cylinder there, when you look in the hole, will have a cap on it. And those also are interchangeable with 1964 Triumph Spitfires. Alright. What else we got here?
Oh, let's see here. As we just discovered in the video, this lawnmower engine requires the spark plugs be gapped at 020. And we used automotive plugs, and they were gapped at 060. They're the correct plug, but they were gapped incorrectly, so we had to re-gap them before it started. That was our hard starting problem.
I don't know that we ever did anything with the emergency brake on this one. That's right
To
there.
the best of my knowledge, it is non-functional.
Okay, what would it take to make that functional?
The first thing you'd have to do is oil it profusely. Try and get as much oil onto the cable as possible. And then slowly work it back and forth, and then you'll want to look back on each wheel as someone else pulls the handle and make certain that the two levers on the wheels are both coming in and out.
Okay.
If they don't, then you have to pull the drum off and lubricate it thoroughly. Let's see here, anything else?
Only front wheel brakes or rear wheel as well?
Say again?
Brakes only on the front wheel or rear wheel as well?
Rear wheel as well,
And
all three
can you
sides.
talk about the rear brakes
Rear brakes are the
system?
same as the front, same wheel cylinders. Basically no difference except for there's an eccentric linkage to lock on the emergency brake. So there's an extra lever inside of the drum. But the wheel cylinders are the same on both sides.
And so if someone was looking to replace the brakes, getting parts, is there anything they need to know about getting the removing the brakes? I know on the Cushman they have to have a special device or tool. How about on these?
These are the same way. You take the large diameter nut off, and then you have to use a puller in order to you leave two lug nuts on, you put them on backwards, and then you use the puller to pull the drum off. Nothing too difficult. The actual lug bolts, the lugs, are mounted to the drum, and the whole drum comes off in your hand. And then all the brakes are accessible then. The wheel cylinders are available. Usually there's a 1 or 2 day wait to pick them up. They're kind of an obscure item at this point in time.
Where would you get them?
Import automotive stores.
Okay.
You can also get them, find information on the West Coaster website on Yahoo.
What if you don't have the extractor tool?
Standard puller will work. It's just a 2-jaw puller with the center bolt.
Okay.
And all you do is you take 2 lug nuts and you put them on backwards to where the straight edge is pointing towards the drum and pull them right off.
Okay.
And usually these are pretty loose, so you really don't have a problem with that. When you go to reinstall them, make sure you use anti-seize or grease on all of the threaded surfaces.
Okay.
And inside of the hub also, it'll make the actual axle shaft has a key in it like a lawnmower wheel. And when reinstalling, you should grease the axle shaft to where next time you have to pull it, it's not as difficult.
I know it. Can you talk a little bit about the shifting on this? Let's talk driving a little bit. So it looks like it's got the 3 on the tree right there.
Standard shifting 3 on the tree. So all the way up and forward is reverse, back is first, forward to the center, down second, and then back for third.
Mind going and showing us on the vehicle real quick?
Sure. Okay, the shifter moves up and down. That's reverse. Holding it upward a little bit, nothing real hard or anything, but just upward lifting. First gear.
Yep.
Forward to the middle and down. Second gear. Straight back for third.
Now, one of the things that happened in the race that we saw was people who would try to jam it in there. They weren't feathering it in there, they were jamming it in. And then they
It's
would...
an old machine. The linkages are loose. And they're not fast vehicles to begin with. So the key thing is just take your time.
Now, what happened? They would bind up every now and then when we were talking about is sometimes when people don't feather it in gear, it will cause What are these, Rob? These shifting levers here?
Shifting rods and shifting levers. It will engage two gears at the same time, which could cause really bad damage. You really have to take your time doing it.
Give an example. Could you shift and show them in action there? So you can see the...
Okay, this is reverse. Coming back to first.
Yep.
And now we're going to switch the actual levers on the transmission for the second shift. That's second.
Yep.
And that's third.
Okay.
So first and reverse are one shifting fork. Second and third are the other shifting fork.
So if they're having trouble with shifting and it's not engaging.
Well, it all comes up to the shift guide inside of these little things.
Okay.
And it's way up underneath the dash. You really can't see it. Or let's see, the shift. No, it's on the bottom. If you follow that tube all the way down,
yep,
it's underneath. And that needs to be lubricated periodically. Right down through the hole, you can insert a chain lube grease out. Threw the grease zerks away, installed new ones, and re-greased everything before I reassembled it.
Okay, and that will allow it to shift a little easier?
Yep. Yep, it'll tighten up the shifting, and all in all, the shifting on these is superior to that on the Cushman Trucksters.
Gauges, looks like we've got all original Rand. Do these work?
There is a cable present, and that's as far as it goes. I have no idea whether it works or not. Last time I played with this was October.
Yep. We really had we were in a hurry to get all these suckers running, and driving was number one. So, windshield wiper. He had asked about a windshield wiper. I don't even.
Okay, well, the windshield wiper's been removed.
Okay.
And they have tape covering the holes where it went. Any rear window windshield wiper motor will work like off an Escort wagon or a Cavalier wagon.
Okay.
And then use the smallest wiper blade available, 10 or 12 inch, because you really don't want to try and push too much electrical energy using the low-powered charging system of this. In an automobile, you have an alternator, which is a big device. All this has are a couple magnets mounted to the engine's flywheel. Mm-hmm. And as they pass a pickup, they create energy, and they don't create a lot. This thing, I don't believe, operates at a full amp.
Okay. So let's talk about getting it started. You said this vehicle tends to flood a little easy. Do you need to use the choke much when you get it started?
When starting it, sit down, put it in neutral, verify, double, triple check that it's in neutral, depress the clutch, rotate the engine, which you're doing with your left hand. Mm-hmm. While you're doing that, as the engine's rotating, just pull your choke knob up and right back down, and she should pop right off.
Which is this throttle over here?
The slightly cracked knob.
How far up? You pull it all the way up?
All the way.
So all the way
And then once it starts, push it right back in, or she'll flood.
Okay, talk about what happens if it floods.
If it floods, you have to remove the spark plugs and clean the gas off of it, and then rotate the engine once to get the excess gas out of the cylinder. Spark plugs are on the top of the cylinder pointed down, so the gas has nowhere to go. You have to rotate.
So we're reassembling here.
This is an anti-backfire plate. So when the lawnmower engine backfires, it just hits that little nylon plate and it's bounced right back into the throat of the engine. So they're actually on there for a reason. But when you're working on it and having to give it a prime, it's easiest to remove that so you have a straight shot. This being a low compression lawnmower engine, you never use ether on it. You could use WD-40 or perhaps carb cleaner. Never ether on anything other than my tractor trailer.
I don't even know where you can get good ether anymore.